In the spring of 1989, the Carnarvon Corporation released a curious game, whose dimensions, along with American students, that fallen swift and furious, though its popularity was ultimately short-lived. The game was Killswitch. On the surface, it was a variant of the mystery or horror survival game, a persecutor to the Myst and Silent Hill franchises. The narrative showed the complexity of which Carnarvon was known, though for the graphics were monochrome, vague, gray, and white shapes against a black background. So MIDI versions of the Czech folk songs play throughout. Players would choose between two avatars, an invisible demon named Gast or a visible woman, Porto. Play as Gast was considerably more difficult due to his total invisibility, and players were highly liable to restart the game as Porto after the end of the first level, which was impossible to gouge and jump or aim. However, Gast was clearly the more powerful character. He had Fire Breath, Cold Seam attack, but still above the skill level. Most players keep track of where the fire-breathing, poison-dispensing, invisible imp was on the screens once the fire and steam had run out. Porto became more or less the default. Porto's singular ability was seemingly random growth. She'd expanded and contracted in size throughout the game. A Kansas engineering grad claimed to have figured out the pattern was involved, but for reasons which will all become obvious, his work was lost. Porto awakens in the dark with wounds on her elbows, confused, seeking the way out. She ascends through the levels of a coal mine, which was slowly revealed once she was an employee, investigating its collapse and beset on all sides by demons similar to Gast, as well as dead foremen, cold golems, and demonic inspectors from the Soviet Corporation, whose boxy bodies were clothed in red, only the color in the game. The environment through the primitive becomes generally uncanny as the gameplay progresses. There is no bosses in any real sense. Portal must simply move physically through the tunnels to reach the subsequent levels, while her size varies widely enough through inter-level spaces. The story that emerges through Porto's discovery of magnetic tapes, files, mutilated factory workers who were once her friends, and depicting an impressively complex code and described on the series of iron axes. Players must collect. The portion of the game was almost laughably complex, and defeated many players until Portal 8-1, posted on the chipper of the Columbia BBS. Attempts to contact this player has been unsuccessful, and the username is no longer used on any known service. Is that the foremen, under pressure to increase the coal production, began to falsely reports of malfunctions, and worker manifests this in order to execute low output, which indicated as Soviet inspection. Officials were dispatched, one of each miner, and an extraordinary story of torture unfolds, with fuzzy and indistinct graphics of red-coated men standing over workers inserting small knives into their joints whenever production is slowed. Admittedly, this is not very suitable critique for the Soviet era industrial tactics, but as the known town of Carnarvon itself was still devastated by the departure of the coal industry, more than one ephesus has interpreted Killswitch as a potential screed. After solving the Axe code, Portfolio finds and assembles a tape recorder, in which a male voice tells her that the fires of the earth have risen up in their defense and flowed into the hearts of the decrypted pre-revolution equipment they use, and awakened them to advance the workers. It's generally assumed that the fires of the earth are demons like Gast, coal fumes, and ghastly bodies inhabiting the old machines. The machines themselves are so big that the graphics elect to only show O2 or free gear teeth or on a conveyor belt rather than the entire purchase. The machines drove in the inspectors mad, and they disappeared into the caverns with their knives, only to merge plague Porto, of course. The workers were often crushed and mangled onslaught of the machines, who were neither graceful or discriminating. Porto herself was knocked into the deep chasm by a grief-stricken engine, and her fluctuating size, if it is real and not imagined, it's implied to the results of a poisonous fumes inhaled there. What follows is the most cryptic, intuitive part of the game. There is no logical reason to proceed into the correct way. Again, it was Porto, though 881, who came to the rescue of fledgling Killswitch community. In the chamber behind the tape recorder is a great furnace where coal was once rendered into coke. There were no clues as to what she was intended to do in this room. Players attempted nearby everything from immolating herself into continuing to process coal, and if the machines had never risen up, Porto 881 hit upon the solution and posted it to the Columbia boards. If Porto ingests the raw coke, she would find her body under control and could go on a fight to her way out of the final levels of the mine, which are impassable by her great state, clutching the tape containing the extraordinary story. However, as she crawls through the final tunnel to emerge above ground, the screen suddenly goes white. Killswitch by design deletes itself upon the player completion of the game. It is not recoverable by any means. All trace of it is removed from the user's computer. The game cannot be copied. For all the intents and purposes, it exists only for those playing it, and ceases to be entirely. One cannot replay it, unlocking further secrets or narrative pathways. One cannot allow another to play it, and perhaps most importantly, it is impossible to experience the game all the way to the end, as both Porto and Gast. Predictably, the player's outcry was enormous. Several routes to solve the problem were pursued, with no real efficiency. The first and most common was simply buy more copies of the game, but Carnival Corp released only 5,000 copies and refused to press any further editions. The following is an excerpt from their May 1990 press release. Killswitch was designed to be a unique playing experience. Like reality, it is unrepeatable, unretrievable, and illogical. One might even think if edible death is death, death is complete. The fates of Porter and her beloved Gast was there unbeknownst to our own. It is our desire of the Carnival Corporation that this is to be so, and we ask the customers to respect that desire. Rest reassured, Carnival will continue to provide the highest quality of games to the West, and that Killswitch is merely one among our many wonders. This did not have indeed effect. The word beloved piqued my interest of committed, even obsessive players, as Gast is not present in any portion of Porto's narrative. A rush to find the remaining copies of the game ensured, with the intent of playing as Gast and discovering the meaning of Carnival's cryptic word. The most popular theory was that Gast would at some point become the fumes inhaled by Porto, changing her size and begging her adventure. Some thought this was a wishful thinking, that if only Gast's early years were passable, one would somehow be able to play as both simultaneously. However, by the time this, no further copies appeared to be available on the retail outlets. Players who had not yet completed the game attempted Gast's levels frequently, but the difficulty of actually playing this gigantic avatar persisted, and no player has ever claimed to have finished the game as Gast. One by one, the lure of Porto's lost, unearthly world drew them back to her, and one by one they were all compelled towards the finality of the vast white screen. To find any copy usable today, an almost unfashionably rare occurrence. A still shrink-wrapped copy was sold in an auction in 2005 for almost $1 million to Yamamoto Richigi of Tokyo. It was entirely possible that Yamamoto is the last remaining copy of the game. Knowing this, Yakamoto had intended to keep playing open this game to all enthusiasts, filming and uploading his progress. However, to date, the only film which has surfaced 1 minute and 45-second clip of the haggard Yamamoto on his computer, the avatar choice between visible over his right shoulder. Yamamoto is crying.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.